This is Rummy's Corner. Coming up on April 16th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, in a welterweight unification bout that will be broadcast on Fox pay-per-view, WBA Super Duper welterweight champion Yordenis Ugas will square off against unified IBF WBC welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. All things considered, this fight makes a lot of sense right now. Not as much sense as the most logical welterweight fight, the long-awaited and ever-elusive potential showdown between Spence and Terence Crawford, but given the fact that Crawford and Spence seem incapable of coming to terms, this is one of the next best consolation prizes. And ironically, this might well provide the final nail in the coffin for a Spence-Crawford showdown, because Ugas might well derail those best-laid plans. The last time we saw Spence in action was back in December 2020, when Spence defended his unified championship against Danny Garcia. That was the first fight for Spence since he was involved in a serious car accident back in 2019. There were questions going into this one about whether Spence would be the same following his accident. Spence used his jab to control the action, and he was consistently and effectively applying pressure against a talented boxer in Garcia. As far as my untrained eye could tell, Spence looked very good and did not appear bothered by any ill effects from the car accident. It was a vintage Spence performance that was very workmanlike and efficient. Spence was awarded a 12-round unanimous decision. Last August, Spence was slated to have a showdown against living legend Manny Pacquiao. This was another good consolation prize for the ever-elusive Spence-Crawford showdown. Pacquiao himself had been coming off a turn-back-the-clock type of performance the year before against Keith Thurman. And even though Pacquiao was considered the WBA champion in recess and didn't technically hold a belt, this was still one of the most important welterweight fights that could have happened at that time, short of Spence Crawford. But unfortunately, the fight was scrapped when Spence pulled out of the fight because of a retinal tear. But the show went on, and Ugas stepped in as a replacement opponent. Ugas was the reigning WBA Super Duper welterweight champion. So ironically, Pacquiao is facing him for the very same belt he had previously won against Thurman. Ugas fought an intelligent, disciplined effort that enabled him to box at his own pace to great effect. Pacquiao put forth an admirable effort, but he lost a little bounce in his step and was unable to create the type of attack angles he is famous for. And while Pacquiao was clearly well past his best, most of his difficulties were the result of excellent execution from his opponent. Ugas exhibited great defense, blocking and avoiding much of the incoming fire from Pac-Man, and Ugas worked behind a snappy jab, frequently doubling it up with great success. Ugas likewise was effective and judicious with his counterpunching, and for the most part he was able to dictate the fighting range while maintaining good balance. At the end of the fight, Ugas earned a 12-round unanimous decision victory. In many ways, going into this one feels like deja vu all over again. Prior to Spence returning to face Garcia after more than 14 months of inactivity, a lot of people wondered if Spence would ever be the same. And now here we are. It will have been more than 16 months since Spence last fought, and a lot of people wonder if he will ever be the same. The reality is, since beating Sean Porter all the way back in September 2019, Spence has fought just once. And bookmarking that lone fight was a serious car accident and the discovery of a retinal tear that denied him the opportunity of a lucrative payday against a living legend under the big spotlight. Ugas waltzed in there and stole the show, and he is coming off his greatest victory to date. So if ever the timing was right for someone to score an upset victory against Spence Jr., this is it. The stars are aligned, and I believe Ugas has a real shot here. Even if Spence is 100% tip-top form, and even if he doesn't exhibit any significant ring rust, having just one fight in the last 30 months, the simple fact remains, Ugas is a damn good boxer. Ugas has a very educated jab that can serve him in different ways, and he is a defensively sound technician who has a great understanding of range. Ugas is also inclined to studiously attack downstairs, and he has solid countering skills with an ability to set and disguise with sneaky traps. But on the flip side, Spence is very skilled in his own right, with an intelligent jab of his own, and a proven ability to apply pressure in a way that breaks his opponents down both physically and mentally. In many ways, Ugas stole the thunder that may have otherwise belonged to Spence had he not been sidelined with the retinal tear. So right now, Ugas is riding a career high note, and Spence is once again coming in with something to prove. Given the fact there is little separating these two in terms of athletic ability, I think we are in for a very interesting and competitive matchup. This is no give me for Spence, and Ugas might well prove to be the man who derails plans for a big-time welterweight showdown between Spence and Crawford. But for my official prediction, I have to go with Spence. Even though he has some questions he will need to answer in this one, I believe he will rise to the challenge and reaffirm his status as one of the elite welterweights today. So I'm taking Spence in a fiercely competitive close decision, one that might well leave fans divided in the aftermath. Whatever happens, I am looking forward to it, and may the best man win on that night. So who do you think will win between Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.